So the next question is basic elements of OOPS. Okay, the question may comes, what are the basic elements of object oriented programming, or write down any two features, write down the features of OOPS. Okay, so generally the basic features or the basic elements of OOPS are object, class, data abstraction, encapsulation, data hiding, inheritance, polymorphism, and dynamic binding. Okay, and dynamic binding. So these are the various features or the elements that are present in OOPS. Okay, so let us discuss one by one. So now first one is object. So what is actually object? See here, so many diagrams we can see here. There is a doll, there is a scooty, there is a table lamp, there is a study table. Okay, so all these are the examples of an object. They are the real world, they are the practical example of objects. So actually what is object? So object is generally, okay, object is generally a unique entity. Okay, it is known as a unique entity that contains data and function. Okay, so data means generally its characteristics and function means behavior. Okay, so object is a unique entity that contains data and function, right? So entity, okay, here is one technical term, that is entity. So entity means it's just like a noun. So what is noun? A noun is generally a name of a person, place, or thing, right? So that is concept is known as object out here. So we can consider object is also an entity. Okay, it can be a name of a person, it can be a name of a thing out here. Okay, so how can we define object? So object is a unique entity that contains data and function. Okay, that contains what? Data and function. So data means characteristics, function means behavior. Okay, together in an object oriented programming language. So that is known as an object, right? Okay, so now let's go to class now. So what do you mean by class now? Okay, so what actually class is? So we can say that class is basically known as a blueprint. Okay, class is generally known as a blueprint. See here, the definition is given out here. It is basically a blueprint or a set of protocols. Okay, right? Blueprint or a set of protocol, or simply we can say that out here. See, apple, mango, banana, okay, pears, grapes, we can see out here, no? So individually they are known as an object. Apple can be treated as one object. Okay, this banana can be treated as another object, pears can be treated as another object, grapes can be treated as another object. So if we unite all this, so what does it mean? So if we collect this, then it is known as a fruit. So this fruit acts as a class out here. Okay, that's why it is known as a collection of objects. We can say class can also be defined as a collection of similar kind of objects. Okay, or it is known as a blueprint or a set of protocols. So that is known as a class. Okay, for example, fruit is known as a class, apple is known as one object, banana is known as another object, pears is known as another object, like this it goes on. But all those objects should be of similar. If we add pen out here, so will it be a similar kind of object? No. So you can't add different object inside one class. Okay, so whatever may be the object inside one class, all those objects should be of similar type. Okay, then only it is considered as a class. Okay, so our third point was Data abstraction. Okay, our third point was what? Data abstraction. So what do you mean by data abstraction? Yes, can anyone say data abstraction? So actually data abstraction means, so see, we know that generally we play the games or we buy the car and we just keep on driving. We put on the key, we start and we keep on driving. Okay, but we don't see its background detail. Okay, we don't see its background detail, means how the logic of the gear works. Okay, how the strings are made, how the wheels are being prepared. Okay, what are the engines, how the engines has been developed, what are the technologies that has been built. Okay, what are the technologies that has been embedded in that engine. So we are least bothered about the background detail. Okay, we just buy the application and then we keep on using that application without knowing its background detail. So that is known as data abstraction. Okay, so we can define data abstraction as, it refers to an act of representing essential features without including its background detail. Okay, data abstraction means it acts as a representation of essential features without including its background detail. Means we are least bothered about its background detail, what is happening at the background. We just buy something and then we apply that, we use it without knowing its background detail. So that is known as data abstraction, right? Okay, another is known as encapsulation. Okay, another is known as what? Encapsulation. So this is a very important feature in object oriented. So encapsulation means, see this one example is out here, very good example. So see, what is this actually? So this is a capsule, no? It's one kind of medicine that is just like a plastic coated, where some powdered like material are present inside it, no? So similarly, this plastic coated out here, the boundary, okay, this boundary is known as the class, where whatever is inside that can't go outside this boundary. Okay, until and unless we open it or we break down this or we tear this. Okay, so similarly this capsule, the boundary acts as a class. So inside this boundary there is a powdered like material. So out here in a class, that powdered out here acts as a variable and a method. Okay, variable and a method, they do their work among themselves, they coincide among themselves. Whatever the requirement or whatever the logic they want to do among them, they can do anything inside the class, but they can't go outside this class. So that is known as encapsulation. Okay, so how we will define now encapsulation? So encapsulation is generally the wrapping, okay, the wrapping up of data and function. So data means variable and function means method out here. Okay, so the wrapping up of data and function in a single unit. Okay, in a single unit of class, within this class. Okay, the single unit of class, that is known as encapsulation. Is it clear? Okay, so now our next point, our next feature was inheritance. Okay, what is it? Inheritance. So what do you mean by inheritance? So in one word we can say that this inheritance means the concept of reusability. reusability, reusability. So what does this reusability means out here? So it means that whatever the thing you have already developed, okay, whatever the thing you have already developed, if I require the same thing in me, so instead of writing that same thing, I can copy from you, I can call from you, I can use from you. So that concept is known as reusability, and that is known as inheritance out here. Okay, so inheritance means it is the process in which object of one class can link and share some common properties from the object of another class. Okay, means suppose you have done one thing and I require that same thing, so you are known as the base class. Okay, you are known as the base class or super class, and whoever is acquiring the features, he is known as the derived class or subclass or target also. Okay, there are three names. Clear? So from whom you are taking, he is known as the base class or super class, and whoever is taking, he is known as the derived or subclass or target. Clear? Okay. So next is polymorphism. So what do you mean by polymorphism? So polymorphism means it is defined as the process of using a function for more than one purpose. We say no that with one thing we can do, with one word, with one thing we can do more than one. Okay, we can apply to more than one. So for example, suppose here there is one graph, statistics or a statistical graph. For example, the same thing can be represented in pie chart, we can represent that in bar chart, we can represent that same in histogram. Okay, we can represent, but the representation is little different. Okay, or the very simple example is that add. Suppose we have declared one function as add. Okay, so it means that if you want to add two numbers, so we can write int add 2, 3. So if you want to add three numbers, there will be another function int add a, b, c, means you are able to add three numbers. So it means that there is one function name add, but you can add simultaneously according to your requirement. If you want to add two numbers, that two numbers will be passed to a function where there are two parameters, and similarly if you want to add three numbers, so you can pass the three input to the function where there are three parameters, means that can add three numbers. So as you give the input, accordingly the compiler will compile your program. It will feed the input to the given function and it will give you the answer. So that's why polymorphism is known as one function name having multiple forms. So that is known as polymorphism. Hope you have understood. Okay, so you just go through this whatever I taught you, and after that if you have any query you can ask me. Okay, and after going through this you can solve all these question answers. Okay, you can go through this, state the Java concept that is implemented through, means a superclass and a subclass. Where this concept is used, it is used in inheritance. Okay, this concept superclass subclass is used in the concept of inheritance. Another question, the act of representing essential feature without including the background detail, so that is known as what? That is known as data abstraction. Okay, so another question is, write a Java statement to create an object of a class digital. So if you want to create a class, okay, the name of the class is digital and the name of an object is MP4. So how do we write the syntax for it? Class name then object name equals to new function name. Okay, so the function name will be as the name of your class. So the name of the class is what? Digital. So digital is your class name, mp4 is the object name, equals to new is the keyword. Okay, new is the keyword, here it acts as an operator, and then digital curly braces. So this is known as a function. Okay, so please just go through this. Okay, if you have any query you can ask me in the next class. Okay, in the next class just go through it. So what do you mean by reusability? I told you. So what is the significance of new? Actually new, we generally just now we use here new, isn't it? So this new means it helps us to create a space. Okay, it helps us to create a dynamic memory allocation. When we are going to run one program in Java, so it helps us to create a space in the memory. Okay, it helps us to create a space in the memory. Name any two features or object oriented programming principle, that is object class, inheritance, polymorphism. See, we had discussed define, encapsulation. So just go through this. Clear? Okay, so hope you have understood.